trying.
And welcome, race fans, live from Las Vegas. The Jackpot 120 race number 3 of a 32-week race season. The Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series, sponsored by Gary Mercer Trucking, presented by MW Productions. I'm Michael Keaton. Up in the booth with me tonight, Kyle Taraska. Kyle, welcome to Vegas, baby.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Las Vegas indeed. Looking here for 120 laps of fast side-by-side action. The bumps are going to be crazy in 1 and 2, but 3 and 4 is going to be really flat out and going to be really aggressive on that end. Going to see some fantastic racing this evening.
I tell you what, before we start spinning the wheel, spinning that dial on the gambling machine, on the jackpot machine, let's talk about Phoenix. Let's go back to the desert last week where that fearless racing buddy, C.J. LeVere, putting on a 125 laps led out of 125 laps total to win it. And Jose Gonzalez putting on quite a show, trying everything he could to catch LeVere. No, sir. He would finish second. Jonathan Cadell, another guy, trying all he could do to catch LeVere. No, sir. Third for him. Eric Brundys, who's in the points lead right now, finished fourth last week. Thomas J. George would start from 17th, Kyle, and ended up finishing that 5th spot.
Yeah, and you know, LeVere, he made some history last week going wire-to-wire, leading all 125 laps at Phoenix. And even though the race for the lead was a runaway, the racing in the back was outstanding. Started off with a lot of controversy, a little bit of drama in the beginning with our Daytona winner, Chad Cole. Got caught up in an incident early on in the race. We heard from him about halfway through the race there with an interview after his wreck. Just didn't have a good qualifying effort, started in the back, and there was just a wrecking from him, couldn't get involved. Who knows, maybe LeVere, he may see the same luck this week. We don't know. Las Vegas is a very tricky racetrack, and Phoenix is a thing of the past. Although LeVere has a lot of momentum coming into Phoenix, doesn't mean he's going to leave Las Vegas with a lot of momentum.
Absolutely, and Guy Snyder would finish 6th at Phoenix last week. Red McBride would finish 7th. Scott Simley 8th, Mark Bratcher 9th, and Matt Lacrosse would round out the top 10 in that 21 machine, although Matt Lacrosse was running even better before that last caution that we had there. Ended up finishing 10th, though, for him. And now, with that said, we move to the point standings in the Full Throttle Cup Series, and I mentioned Eric Brundys, who finished 4th last week, in position on the podium spot for now. We're real young in, though, 3 races in. Eric Brundys, again, first, 2 points up ahead of last week's dominating winner, C.J. LeVere. Jonathan Cadell, the Navy man, would finish, it's tied in 3rd spot with Thomas J. George, 6 back from the leader. And Matt Lacrosse will round out the top 5 in that 5th position, 7 points back from the leader, Eric Brundys.
Yeah, and the Carolina kid, Chad Schilling, going to be 6th in points, only 11 points out. Len Campbell, he's 7th, 17 out. Jose Gonzalez and Brandon Peterson round out the top 10. Rhett McBride rounds out the top 10, 18 points back. As you can see, the points are still very tight after 2 events, but just keep in mind as we talk about points, if you win a race, as long as you maintain your top 30 position in points, you are almost guaranteed a spot to make the chase for the cup here come September. So a long season ahead, but if you could get a win real early in the season, it could really make the rest of your season a lot less stressful and have you take some chances and try to gain up more victories.
And before we head to the promo video down the trackside of the national anthem, I want to tell everybody, with the rule change here tonight, we had a setup change, and these guys went from one setup, and some of the officials deemed it necessary to change setups. These guys have had about a day and a half, maybe, of practice in this new setup, so it's going to be really interesting to see how these guys perform. And again, we're going to step away, go to the promo video, and then we're going to go down trackside for the national anthem, and then when we return, Jackpot 120 action live at Las Vegas on MW Productions. And welcome back to Las Vegas, where the field has been set, and here it is, the number 11 machine, Jonathan Cadell, quickest on the pole. The 8 car, Chad Cole, second row. The number 94 machine of Eric Brundys. On the outside, the 68 of Scott Simley. Fifth fastest, the 2 of R.J. Williams. And the 6th fastest car, the 91 of Steve Gottschalk. The 44 car of Glenn Campbell, 7th. Matt Lacrosse in that 21 machine going to roll off 8th tonight. The number 1 belonging to Thomas J. George, who's in the top 10 in points, rolls off 9th. And Rhett McBride in the 20 will round out your top 10.
Starting at number 11 to number 78, Brandon Peterson, Stefan Marinick to his outside. Joey Gitina, he's going to roll off in P13. Mike Motensi, he's going to roll off 14th. Scott Stenzel rounding out the top 15, and to his outside, Jeff Addison. Last week's winner, CJ Laverne, in the number 4 car, is going to roll off 17th. Eric Arnold will roll off 18th. Guy Snyder in 19th. And John Higman Jr. will round out the top 20.
21st fastest, the 29 machine of Brennan Mercer. To his outside, the 17 machine of Mark Bratcher. The 66 of Brian Harvey will start their next row in 23rd. To his colleagues outside, right, will be the 30 of A.J. Browning. 83, Jay Horton rolls off 25th. Rob Balling rolls off 26 in that 84 car. The 36 machine, Rich Jett, starts 27th. The 88 car, Adam Roberts, rolling off 28th. And 29th quickest, the 5 of Douglas Wyatt. And to his outside, Mr. Langley, John, the 87 car, rolls off 30th.
And rounding out the rest of the field this evening, Bobby Wetzel in the number 10. He's subbing for John Abbott. He'll start 31st. Nathan Bowers will start 32nd. Nathan Little 33rd. Doug Manning 34th. And Keith Brooks Jr. 35th. And 36, Aaron Groskopf, after missing last week's race, will rebound to start tonight. J. Randall Watkins is 37th, last driver to take a time. Starting at the rest of the field on provisionals, the 3 of Scott Brotherton, the 48 of Kevin Linden. Jason Lester will start 40th. Jose Malbran will start 41st. John Wilco in 42nd. And rounding out the field of the 43-car field shotgun, Stephen Herring.
And I want to bring up something real interesting. Last week, according to the standings on the Full Throttle Cup Series website, I know John Abbott and Joey's going to get me for this, but Chad Cole did not finish dead last. Doug Roth did. He was 99,900, something like that. He's on the scoring board. He finished 44th. Now, we know that can't be right, but Chad Cole would finish dead last week when push comes to serve, to shove. 118 laps down, but not tonight. Starting second, a different strategy here. He started in the rear last week. He's on the front row this week. Vegas, the jackpot 120. Who's put the most money in the slot machines? We're going to find out. It looks like the 11 machine of Jonathan Cadell did pretty good for himself, winning some money earlier. Here he goes. Green flag at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Kyle, and Cadell leads us to it.
And Cadell gets a great start here as they come by my location entering turn 1. Cadell with a 5-car length lead entering turn 1, but Chad Cole, he had some magic back here in February with the Icebreaker Series. He's going to be in 3rd and at the wall car, but look at Eric Brundys, the points leader, rocketing out to the 2nd position. The top 5 are spread out, but the racing's back in 7th.
Yeah, another thing I want to mention too, Kyle, just getting word here, getting pushed a note that Jose Gonzalez, who sits 8th in points, tied 7th with Glenn Campbell, did not make the field tonight. The car could not pass time constraints, a.k.a. daylight savings times. Man, I'll tell you what, that hurt him tonight.
Yeah, that's really going to hurt him, but keep in mind, as I mentioned very briefly in the pre-race show, with the new point system, all he has to do is come back and win a race, and if he can still maintain a top 30 position in points, it shouldn't hurt him too bad. It's still very early in the season, but still, for being this early in the season, it's a major blow for Jose Gonzalez, but we expect him to rebound next week. In the meantime, Eric Brundys closing in on the number 11 of Jonathan Cadell, Chad Cole in his mirror, and we got R.J. Williams behind him as well.
Yeah, an interesting tidbit too. Someone just said, "Yeah, he's from Puerto Rico." You know, in Puerto Rico, they don't have that time change like we do here in America. So interesting, but like you said, racing truck. Yeah, I was about to say.
Number 45 of Mike Montesi having trouble sliding through the grass there. Big accident on the front stretch. I believe the caution is coming out.
Yeah, Kyle, and just ahead of him wrecking down the front stretch at 45, Mike Montesi, there was some other trouble coming into turn 1, and I want to say it started with a 17, possibly of Mark Bratcher. No, it was not Mark.
7 of Guy Snyder in that pink Nards car, representing Paul Menard here tonight. Looked like when the 45 was sliding through the infield there, we get a replay up for you guys. He was spinning on the apron across the start-finish line. Keep in mind, this is not like Daytona or Talladega. The drivers can drop down to the apron here on the front stretch to try to cut off some time, make up some positions, and that's exactly what Guy Snyder was doing, coming through the trial hole to complete the first lap. Problem being, the 45 of Mike Montesi was sliding down there wrecking. He had to make a very abrasive move to come back up onto the trial hole. And as we all noticed, the apron here is very slick, and he came up. Last week's winner, C.J. Levere, Aaron Grosskopf. Looked like maybe Bratchard was involved. So we had 2 accidents within 1 there on the front stretch.
Yeah, Eric Arnold involved, John Hickman Jr., Brennan Mercer. A lot of guys, a lot of good heavy hitters involved there. Early pack caution, and 2 have smoke pouring out from under the machines, and that's the 60 of John Hickman Jr. and also the 29 of Brennan Mercer. So they will more than likely take an early exit here at Las Vegas. And with that said, we're going to take our first commercial break as they continue to round out through here. And some of them's going to pit, but most of them are going to stay out as the leader, Eric Brundys, leads us at Vegas. Cadell dropped to 3rd. We'll be right back. And welcome back live to Las Vegas, where we're under the first caution and shades of gray, kind of, Kyle. Chad Cole, remnants of 2 weeks ago, and here tonight, C.J. Levere.
Yeah, C.J. Levere. I mentioned it in the pre-race, and here we got it again. Maybe we're starting an RSR curse up here in the booth or something, Keaton, but this 4 of C.J. Levere started out in the back again after a poor qualifying effort, just like what Chad Cole had at Phoenix last week. And here he is. He got it right early in the race on lap 6 or 7. Just, man, a big wreck on the front stretch. None of his doing. I don't think he got too much damage there, but he did get damage, and we do know how aero-dependent these Generation 6 Cup cars are, especially on the mile-and-a-half racetrack. So any little dent in any part of the car here is going to cause a major issue, and I think he got a little bit more than a dent. Don't know how bad it's going to hurt him, but nonetheless, C.J. Levere, last week's winner, involved in this opening lap incident.
Yeah, and these guys running this new Hoff setup too, so it probably already is tight. So you can imagine what the the crew's going to have to really go to work probably. So you can imagine what LeVere is going to have to be dealing with now after that wreck. And not just him. I mean, we saw Brennan Mercer. I mean, it seemed like his luck, sitting at 29th in points right now, last week, finishing 29th, getting involved in the wreck. Here he is tonight, can't just, but like you said, if you win a race, like Jose Gonzalez, what we're talking about with him, if you win a race and stay within that top 30 in points, you're in the chase. You're locked in.
Yeah, and like we were saying, we even mentioned it with Jose Gonzalez earlier, especially with a win, but having a blow like this early in the season is not really going to hurt your championship efforts. Now, let's say if this was Chicago or Dover in the chase or even Talladega, then it'd be a whole different story. But like we said, CJ LeVere, he has that win. He's pretty much almost locked into the chase unless he falls off the face of the earth. So it's kind of just go for broke, and unfortunately tonight he might have broke.
So as the pace car leads us off into turns 4 here, Eric Brundage is going to get the restart here with Chad Cole not missing a beat. Started second, still running second. Jonathan Cadell, though, would be shuffled here a little bit. Actually, Cadell's all the way back in 18th. He would be one of the guys to pit. So here we go. Green flag. Eric Brundage in that Pennzoil Ford leads us to the green.
And again, for the second restart in a row here on lap 9, Eric Brundage in a 94 gets a huge jump, almost 3 car lengths right there. And R.J. Williams, he's going to slip into second, but the battle's on behind him. Chad Cole right in his mirror tracks. He's going to look for the position entering turn 3.
And at Vegas, being a mile-and-a-half track, Kyle, we talked a little bit amongst ourselves about strategy here with what these guys are going to be having to compete with. And tires, I believe, are going to be a bigger issue, but you think some of the turns here at Vegas are even a bigger issue than the tires themselves?
Yeah, well, one thing, unless you're really on board with the cars that you can't see in turns 1 and 2, the track is very bumpy on the inside of the racetrack. So expect guys to run more towards the outside of the track. Now, when guys run towards the outside of the track, they're going to be running closer to the wall. And on the backstretch, coming off of turn 2 down the back straightaway, the angle from corner to straightaway, it really tightens up, and the banking it really falls off from the banking in the corner down to the flatness of the straightaway. It really falls off rather quickly, kind of similar to what we see at Texas Motor Speedway. And we were back here early February for the RSR Icebreaker Series for the championship event, which Chad Cole did win the championship. There were a lot of incidents off of turn 2. And there's a lot of spin-off area there, if you remember, with Jeff Gordon when he hit the wall there, which means there's a lot more area space for the cars to carry momentum down to the inside wall for heavier damage, possibly even bouncing back up into the racing groove. So look for a lot of action off of turn 2. We already saw one incident off of turn 4, but who knows, maybe it's just because of the setup, as you mentioned, Keaton, with the new setup they have this week, which was a late addition, making the setup a little bit tighter for these guys. Maybe turn 4 would be a trouble spot, but I picture turn 2 to be a big issue. But we have a battle for the lead in the middle of 3 and 4.
Yeah, we're about to see how good that outside lane works here at Vegas. As Brundage to the outside, and that deuce machine that you see is R.J. Williams in the retro-looking Auburn Tiger color scheme, orange and blue there, as he dives into turns 1. Can't quite do it. And I think Aaron's going to have that run. No, he kind of let out the throttle there, it looked like, to maybe let RJ up in front. But it looked like, yeah, Kyle?
Yeah, no, just you got to remember, it's only lap 13, and I kind of was thinking the same thing as he watching this battle. I thought that Brundage was going to be able to carry the momentum on the outside and be able to hold on to that position. But I guess one of 2 factors, one being, as we have a caution on the speedway, but one being that it's this early in the race, no need to push the issue, and 2, with the setup being tighter, makes the cars a little bit easier to handle over those bumps, so maybe it'll make the inside lane a little bit more relevant in 1 and 2 than what we expected during the pre-race.
And right now, I'm trying to find where that caution happened at. I want to say kind of mid-pack here, Kyle. I want to say there's a single solo spin coming into turn 3, it looked like it.
Yeah, like down the back straightaway to 44 Glenn Campbell. I believe it was a 68 to Scott Simley. I don't know, it looks like they just came together down the middle of the backstretch there, and then going into turn 3, they just made contact sliding into what I was just talking about, that big area onto the inside wall. Heavy damage to both of those cars. I think the 44, he might have spun his tires and got loose down the straightaway and came up into the car that was outside of Scott Simley. causing a two-car incident, and it looked like Jay Horton got the wall after the fact again. A tough night for him so far, but primarily a two-car incident here on lap 13.
And now we're going to see leaders coming down the pit road here to take their cycle to yellow flag condition pit stops. We'll see if we can get a Brennan Mercer up in the booth with us tonight. Brennan Mercer, not the night that you really wanted to spend in Vegas on that pit box, huh?
Yeah, kind of sucks, that deal. I was watching Mike in my mirror, and I looked up, and they started wrecking in front of me. There's nothing I could do. I tried to get it woe down, but it was way too late. First off, I gotta apologize to Mark and Sean Hickman there for running them over. Didn't mean to, but it's just a bad deal. I wasn't paying attention and just kind of arc break them a little bit. But in retrospect, I looked at the replay, and I really had nowhere to go.
Yeah, Brandon, me and I was talking about during the broadcast that, last week you had a tough outing, 29th or 28th, I believe it was, at Phoenix. But that doesn't put you out of this championship hunt. You win a race, you're still in the top 30 in points, you're still in a championship hunt. So how does that make you feel going into next week, let's say at California?
Well, that's something that we're going to have to do. We're going to have to win a race, and that's something that I'm not really the greatest at. So I'm not too confident at winning with these guys. It's a really, really tough field, but we'll get her done here. We'll try and find something. I'm really good at Richmond, so I think that's going to be my best bet.
All right, Brendan, thank you very much, and thank you for what all you guys do there at Gary Mercer Trucking and all the involvement with iRacing and Real Sim Racing.
All right, thanks, Beetlejuice.
I see. And that was Brennan Mercer, Kyle. Obviously worried about getting a win here this season, so he's got to buckle it up. I think he'll be able to get in a groove here. We got a long way to go, but we're getting there kind of quick, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it was kind of interesting listening to that conversation as trouble on the front stretch. The two of R.J. Williams who came in as our leader, wow, it looked like he tried to warm his tires up there, and he actually nosed the wall with the right front of his car. Going to try to get a closer video on that to see if he actually got any damage. Had to imagine he got something there, but that's very ironic.
Oh gosh.
Really, I don't know, Keaton. This is a pretty ironic race and a very unique, I guess is a good way to put it here in the opening 16 laps.
It is not going well for a lot of people, from the great drivers, from the bad, from the not so good drivers to the guys who you would think would never do something like what R.J. Williams just did. I mean, it's just going back. It's Vegas. I guess it's like the gambling. It's the gambling city, capital of the United States. And I think these guys are just going at it just like that they do in a casino. Lay it all out on the line, gas her up during the caution, and gamble your way to the front. I don't know, Kyle. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, I really don't know what exactly happened there, but before we get a full report on that, let's go back and talk about Mercer. One thing I wanted to touch on that I heard in his interview, and this is just a product of the new point system. He was talking about how Richmond is one of his best tracks, and Keaton, it's funny how you mentioned how he's going all in. And I think Richmond is one of those tracks where he knows where he's fast and he has to go all in there. But keep in mind, anything could happen in a race. I mean, just look what happened to R.J. Williams under caution here. It's like I said, it's just a product of this new point system. Guys are going to have to rely on certain tracks to get that win. But when you rely on certain tracks and put all your chips in that basket and not so much the other, it could hurt your chances just as much as help them. So again, just a very interesting aspect here of the season. But looking back here on the race now, R.J. Williams, his right front does not look too bad, but we'll see how that affects him here in the opening laps of the restart. Let's also keep in mind the 41 of Nathan Little and the 84 of Rod Balling. They both stayed out under that caution, and they were on about 5 lap older tires than the rest of the field behind them.
Yeah, Eric Brundy's, you won't find him until you look at about 5th row position back in 8th spot on the high side behind the 14 machine of Joey Gattina. So Eric Brundy's, who's led most of the laps here tonight at Vegas, is going to find himself in 8th spot. And like you said, the 2 guys on the front row holding out what they've got. And I think these guys might have pitted on the first caution. So I think they'll hold up here for a bit. We'll find out. The 41 machine leading us back to green for the third time here tonight at Vegas.
And with the big restart box right there, the 41 of Nate DeLow is going to take off. Not the best of starts that we've seen all night compared to Eric Bundy's. He's been taking off like a rocket ship so far. But the 84, who actually has some damage on the right side there on the door, he's going to hang on to second place here, and R.J. Williams to his inside. Williams is going to try to carry the momentum, and they're going to get really close off of 2, almost some contact there. But the battle's on into turn 3. Expect R.J. Williams to make the pass here. He's going to clear him. And hearing about some trouble possibly in turn 2.
Yeah, Steve Gottschalk got a nice little hello, how are you, able to keep it from spinning out. But man, look at the battle up front here. Look at the battle for the lead. 2-car underneath the 41 machine. That didn't last long. The 21 coming with him. That's Matt Lacrosse. The 41 holding his ground to the high side, coming off 2. RJ seems to be okay, Kyle.
Yeah, but not Jay Horton, my apologies, the 84 of Rob Bowling, not so much the case. He got into the outside wall there in the middle, 1 and 2. Looks like the old tire's not really working out for him. He's dropped back to about the 10th position, but like you said, R.J. Williams trying to make a statement here. I believe he does some PR for Landon Huffman. He's a driver at Hickory Motor Speedway in the limited late model series. So trying to show his game face here and make a statement in the driver's seat. He's pulling away by about 2 car lengths over the 21 of Matt Lacrosse and the 41 of Little. But then look at Joey Jatina there, the soon-to-be ARCA standout driver. He's going to slip into the 3rd position here off of turn 4. And our Icebreaker Series champion and Daytona winner, Chad Cole, is going to follow right in his tracks.
And how about this? 2 teammates up in the 1 and 3rd spot. Joey Gatina 3rd, you just mentioned. Ahead of him, though, that Fearless Racing Group contender, Matt Lacrosse, holding on to 2nd. And Thomas J. George, how about this? Rounding out the top 5 here tonight in Vegas. Putting the moves on, trying to get it towards the front. Thomas J. George is off to a great, strong start of the season here in the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series, as now Cole looks underneath.
Yeah, and as he looks to the inside, he looks like he's going to try to complete the pass into turn 1, but Jatina's going to try to carry that momentum on the outside of 2. But again, another pass on the inside of 1 and 2. I think it has a product to do with the Hoff setup, also known as the Hall of Fame setup. Just to give our fans some insight of what that setup is, for those who don't know, the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte, they do have fully equipped iRacing stock car simulators, and iRacing builds specific sets, a little bit tighter, not as much racier as our fixed setups or other setups that we use on the iRacing service. And those setups are used for the patrons that go to visit the NASCAR Hall of Fame. It is an option for league admins to use those setups in their series, and up until about 24 hours ago, we were not going to use those setups, but the RSR officials did decide to use the Hall of Fame setups, a little bit easier to drive, and as Keaton said, they're a little bit tighter, and I think it was a great call so far because we've been seeing some great side-by-side racing as opposed to the fixed setup where earlier in the week, especially if we were running a different series, you tend to notice that if you weren't on the outside of 1 and 2, you had no hope of making any kind of pass.
Yeah, great racing, and in fact, some right now with that 35 machine. Jeff Addison in the 14th spot, got Adam Roberts all up, tucked under the rear deck lid as those 2 Fords touch. Going into 3, also in the mix, is that black Chevy of Brian Harvey, Fearless Racing teammate. The 78 of Brandon Peterson in the 16th spot. Now they're single filing out a little bit as we get some green flag laps ran down on the board here at Vegas.
Yeah, and another thing I want to touch on since you're talking about teammates, you mentioned the JGR cars of R.J. Williams and Joey Jatina. And I'm sure our fans are wondering, this is a fixed setup league, so how can these guys be running, it's not coincidental that these 2 cars that are teammates that are running up in the front, kind of like what we've been seeing the past couple of weeks in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series with the Penske cars with Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano. And you got to wonder, how are these guys running together if everyone has the same setup? Well, it's a matter of practice and knowledge. Joey Jatina probably has many laps here, possibly with the Dale Jarrett Racing School and other driving schools. Maybe has some laps here and has some extra insight where he can help his teammates like R.J. Williams, and that's the kind of information that transfers from teammate to teammate. Just a matter of driving lines and how hard to push the car and whatnot. And when it comes to fixed setup racing on the iRacing service, that kind of information is vital for teams to be successful in their specific league.
Oh, and you're exactly right, and week in, week out, these guys, they communicate with each other. They give each other a feel, a different line perhaps, you know, and different strategies all the time being tossed around. And a lot of different teammates here in this race tonight, and a lot of solo drivers out there doing what it takes to get it done. Eric Arnold and Jonathan Goodell, the Navy cadets. You know, those two guys teammates, and Scott Stencil up here in the 42 machine going to work with that 35 and 91 of Steve Gottschalk. This is a nice little battle here for the 12th spot, trying to crack into the top 10 as they're side by side. Adam Roberts again looking underneath at 78, trying to force a 3 wide move there out of 2.
Yeah, going on here for about a 5-car, almost 3 wide there. Almost some contact there. We see the 78 of Brandon Peterson trying to get involved here. Got the 3 of Scott Brotherton, but what about Scott Stenzel? This is actually, I talked to him earlier in the week, and he's actually one of my teammates here in another series run there on the iRacing service. Las Vegas is one of his favorite tracks. Expect him to make some big moves here later on in the race. Kind of struggling a little bit right now, but as you can see, we got some great battling for the racing. We were mentioning this house before, a lot of side-by-side racing. And again, look at CJ Levere. After having his early trouble, he just cracked the top 20 after pretty much coming from last place after that incident. So again, it's only lap 29 of 120. Stenzel got the wall there. Big trouble there off of turn 4. Looked like oh man, big trouble on the 78 of Brandon Peterson, that Furniture Row 78 car. Big nose damage, just had nowhere to go. That's going to really hurt him aerodynamically. Again, this is what happens when you get close quarter racing, but both cars are able to keep it straight for now with no caution.
So out of 43 drivers here tonight in Vegas, 35 run on the lead lap. That takes us all the way back to that 36 machine of Rich Jett, who runs 25 seconds off pace a little bit here behind the leader. Jason Lester would be the next guy in 36 spot, 1 lap down. And then we've got John Higman Jr., who is 23 laps down in that 60 machine, who was caught up in the very first caution here tonight. Luck runs out, and he's behind the wall. And so is the 29 machine of Brennan Mercer, although back out on the track, crew still trying, or back out on pit road, crew trying to bang out the dents that Brennan Mercer had put in his car when we were under that caution too, Kyle. And
yeah, just tonight you mentioned John Higman Jr. Looks like he's going to finish in the 43rd position tonight. Really rough night for him. He declined to comment with us on the TV broadcast, which we fully respect. Just a tough night for him. Very frustrated, as any iRacer, real racer, whatever, as we know. But unfortunate for him, could turn into the fortunes of some other drivers, and it looks like Chad Cole in the 8th is going to try to look real fortunate here. Over the last couple laps, he's really reeled in the 2-car of RJ Williams, and we're going to have a close battle here in the middle of 3 and 4 for the lead.
lap traffic just ahead, that's Rich Jett. I named him the 5th spot here. He's going to stay high, the 2 down low, the 8 down low. They'll get by safely. And like you mentioned, a half a car length separates the 2 going into 1 here. Cole with slightly the slower lead lap that time, but RJ Williams really starting to cook the books here.
Yeah, and one thing you got to keep in mind too, again, I mentioned earlier about the aerodynamics of these Generation 6 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series cars here that the RSR Series is utilizing. They're very aerodynamically dependent, and when your car's about, I don't know, let's say 10 car lengths back behind somebody, it drives like a total different animal compared to about the distance of about 1 or 2 car lengths right now between Chad Cole and RJ Williams. One of the famous sayings that we know of, it's one thing to catch him than to pass him, but we have a caution on the field, on the track right now with a wreck on the front stretch.
Absolutely coming out of turn 4, the 15 car, Heath Brooks Jr. into the outside wall, and we know what that spells, and that spells T-R-O-U-B-L-E, and the 83 car, Jay Horton, gonna get involved with it as well. The 2 black cars go spinning around through the front stretch, and we're under the yellow lights at Vegas once again. Kyle?
Yeah, my heart really breaks for an 83 of Jay Horton. This is the 3rd time tonight where he's been involved in some kind of incident on the racetrack, but none of the incidents were his fault. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I know in the pre-race we were talking about turn 2 being very treacherous, but this is the second incident we've seen off of turn 4, and just like what we saw with Mike Montesi in the 45 in the opening laps, the 15 of Keith Brooks Jr., and it might be a product of a tighter setup, just slid up into the wall off of turn 4, came right back down across the racetrack into the 83 Jay Horton. Nowhere for either of those guys to go. It was just a racing incident. Two guys being at the wrong place at the wrong time. If those guys weren't side by side, I bet you the Alright, my bad. I lost my mic there for a second, had to regain that. But anyway, we're talking about the two guys being on the outside. If Keith Brooks Jr. was not side by side with the 83 Jay Horton, he probably would have just hit the wall off of turn 4, kept the car straight. We wouldn't even be under caution right now. But lap 34 here, changing the whole complexion of the race, and we have green flag pit stops as I try to fix my microphone.
And absolutely, and looks like the leaders are going to come down pit road, as you mentioned. Get this long green flag that we've had here, get the fresh Goodyears, and Chad Cole is going to win the race off pit road. R.J. Williams going to fall back to second. And Eric Brundy's man who qualified third is going to get that third spot. Thomas J. George fourth coming out of pit road, and Matt Lacrosse fifth.
Yeah, and I'm able here to catch up with Keith Brooks Jr., trying to get a word with him. Keith, what happened off of turn 4 on lap 34? And again, having some technical difficulties. Keith, and I'm going to send it back up to you, but I'm going to try to get a word here with Keith Brooks Jr. about what happened there off of turn 4 last time by.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you're getting that settled out, again, the top 5. Right now, as you see Aaron Grosskopf pull off down on the pit road to pit. You see the 92 follow in pursuit. So will the 10 car. The top 5 here, R.J. Williams, Chad Cole second, Thomas J. George third, Eric Brundy's starting in that 4th spot here. And as this, it looks like the field just cycled, and it looks like Bobby Wetzel's being shown here in first, Kyle.
Yeah, it looks like the 10 car of Bobby Wetzel stayed out, maybe just trying to lead a lap to get John Abbott some crucial driver's points here. Remember, Bobby Wetzel is subbing for John Abbott this week. Interesting strategy on his behalf, but I'd imagine he's going to pit next time by because, I mean, there's too much of a lap difference between when these guys last pitted, and the tire difference is going to be too much, and Bobby Wetzel, as no matter how talented of a driver he may be, he is not going to have a chance up with these guys and leaders to maintain that lead position on such old tires.
Absolutely, and we're going to see if we can get him now. R.J. Williams, Mike Keaton up in the booth. You got a copy?
Gotcha.
R.J., man, under that last caution, or it may have been 2 cautions ago, we saw you spin the tire, so to speak, and get up into that outside wall. We thought, oh no, doomsday for the deuce, baby, of R.J. Williams. But, man, you're hanging on, and you're up there in third right now, and you ran first for a little bit and had a little battle with Cole. Are you wiping the sweat off your brow?
Well, the car is really sluggish in second gear taking off, so I thought, well, let's see what it's like in first gear. Well, I figured that out right there, so I'm not restarting in first gear. Got a little damage there. They worked on a little bit. I think that's what slowed down the pit stop and caused me to lead the Cole. I'm just trying not to burn the right front off of it, and we'll see what we got here in this long green flag run here.
10-4, well, you still got a ways to go, but a short time to get there. Have fun at Vegas, baby.
Thanks.
Oh, man, and that's R.J. Williams, who was running a fantastic third spot. And tell you what, Kyle...
He's actually second right now because, as we expected, the 10 car he did pit last time by, Bobby Wetzel, is going to restart the tail end of the lead lap cars here. So, with that being said, just a quick top 10 rundown here as we get set for the restart. Chad Cole in the 8th DeWalt Ford. He's going to start first with R.J. Williams restarting to his outside. Points leader Eric Brundy's in 3rd. Thomas J. George in 5th. Matt Lacrosse is going to restart in the 5th position.
Eric Grundy is Mike Keaton up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Eric, we see here on the backstretch here about to go back green, but man, you're starting off great. Good show here tonight for us in that yellow Pennzoil Ford. What do you got for him tonight?
I don't know. We'll see. It was pretty good that last run, but I think it's going to come down to strategy and just track position. But I like our chances. I like this track. So.
All right, Eric. Well, good luck, man, as the pace car gets set to take you guys back green.
All right, thanks.
And as the pace car is going to get set to go here, just keep in mind Las Vegas Motor Speedway, big restart area for these guys, but the guys can go anytime after the pace car goes off. The field's going to bunch up here. The field is in the hands of the DeWalt Ford of Chad Cole, and he's going to take off with a huge lead. Big stack up in the back of the field. Looks like we got one car in the grass, but everyone's going to keep moving. The battle is on into turn one. Chad Cole's going to maintain the lead here, but we got Eric Brundys, who we just talked to, in his rearview mirror, in his sights, but R.J. Williams, we just talked to him as well. Even with that little bit of damage to the right front fender, he's going to maintain the second position and try to pull away. The battle's on for third. Thomas J. George consistently running top 5 this year. He's on the outside, and he's going to try to carry the momentum and pull the Pennzoil car of Eric Brundys around the outside, but looking behind him as Thomas J. George, he's going to clear the position. Looks like Jeff Addison, or actually no, Stefan Marinak is going to try to get up into the battle here, along with the 14 and Joey Jatina, the future Arcus standout. In the meantime, Chad Cole maintains the lead about 2 or 3 car lengths, but R.J. Williams is starting to close back in a little bit. But don't keep in mind that one car, Thomas J. George, he's closing in on both of those cars as well. Going to have a close 3-car battle here for the lead.
Man, that one car AC Delco Snap-on Chevrolet of Thomas J. George is flying. Just turned a 29.7, quickest on the board, buddy. Thomas J. George, the black and red car. The man out of the Virginias is on the move.
Yeah, Thomas J. George, he's actually originally from my area, I believe, up in the northeastern here, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, tri-state area, and he's trying to make his fans proud. He's closing in on third position. Really solid effort for him, as we mentioned already this year. I believe he's top 5 in points, and he's finished up there, I believe, top 5 or at least top 10 in both events so far. Really making a name for himself in this series, and he's running very consistent. And even though wins mean a lot, consistency is, in my opinion, is just as important, because if you can't maintain the momentum, it's not really going to take you anywhere just winning one race and wrecking out of the rest of them. So good for Thomas J. George, but points leader Eric Brundys is full of his rearview mirror right now as they cross the start-finish line to complete the 44th lap of the event. Chad Cole continues to lead as the field enters turn 1.
And as the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series drivers begin to start to settle into what could be a long green flag run here in Vegas, us at MW Productions are going to step away, take a commercial break. I'm going to go grab a hot dog from the concession stand. I know Kyle's been begging for some ice cream. So we'll see if we can't get that taken care of, and see if we can't get MW an ice cold Coca-Cola. You're watching Real Sim Racing at Vegas, sponsored by Gary Mercer Trucking, presented by MW Productions. We'll be right back.
In a world where survival is the only rule and feelings have no place, where winning is everything and weakness is fatal, how much difference can one person make? That depends on the person. In every life, there is a line that cannot be crossed without leaving everything behind, except faith. Once that step is taken, there is no looking back, and all that lies ahead is destiny. There is no looking back, and all that lies ahead is destiny.
And welcome back, where exciting things are happening here at Vegas. Back in 22nd position, Rob Bowling and Brandon Peterson going at it. Also in that mix, Red McBride in the 20 car. And also behind them, another little bit of cars clustering up here. Jay Randall Watkins, Guy Snyder, and Wyatt.
And this is the great part of what sim racing has to offer. These guys should just not give up. Looking at the 84, Rob Bowling, remember he restarted up in the front after not taking tires. He had contact with the wall earlier. Looking at the 78 of Brandon Peterson, remember he had contact with the 42 of Scott Stenzel. His whole front end got tore up and he's still going. Looking at the 27 of Guy Snyder, he was our first caution. He's still trying to roll too. Even though these guys ain't racing for the win right now, they're giving it all they got, putting on a great show for the fans here at MW Productions.
Almost lost it there. As you saw the 20 car, Rhett McBride trying to get up under that 84 once again, back to the bottom. I think he'll finally make the pass there and trying to bring Brandon with him up ahead of that. The little battle shaping up between Scott Brotherton and the 87 of John Langley running that 19th spot. The Irvin Ford there as he looks underneath them, maybe M3, but no, 3 car shuts the door.
Yeah, that's Scott Brotherton, a big RCR fan supporting a 3 car, and Austin Dillon, the Dow Chemical Colors this weekend here in Las Vegas, trying to put on a good show. Running just inside the top 20 right now, a solid effort for him. I believe he had a slight contact from that earlier incident involving the 27 of Guy Snyder, but still trucking so far. But again, we're closing in on the halfway point of the race right now. So as much and consistent these guys are running, this is our longest green flag run of the race. They're going to have to start keeping in mind that pit stops are going to be coming up soon. The race should be settled on the race should be able to be settled on one more pit stop, but it's going to be a matter of when they want to pit, and hopefully they can stay on the lead lap until that time, because if you go a lap down and then have to cycle through a green flag pit stop, that really does put you at a big disadvantage, Keaton.
Yeah, one thing I want to talk about, Scott Brotherton, the married man out of Mooresville, North Carolina. I tell you, every day there's something different that this guy puts out into the social media. And some of what he uses his drone to take pictures. And he's a man after my own heart because he loves golf and really enjoys it. And I tell you, I wish that I lived in North Carolina to go to that River Oaks Golf Club that Scott Brotherton's a part of. And, you know, he may not be up here towards the front here in the Full Throttle Cup Series at Vegas, but he's a winner in my book, as corny as he sounds, Kyle.
Yeah, and we do love when whether it's NASCAR or ARCA or even on iRacing, we do love when our drivers show personality, go on to social media, connect with the fans, and Scott Brotherton is definitely one of the best at it. Now, focusing back up towards the lead, got the 8 car Chad Cole continuing to dominate about a second lead over R.J. Williams. Thomas J. George and Eric Brundys are battling for 3rd and 4th. About a 1/10 of a second separates them, but it's almost over a second to the 5th place car, the number 11 of Jonathan Cadell, who is our points leader entering this event. So again, long green flag run here. Guys are really starting to spread things out. They got, by this point of the race, as we just about 3 laps away from the halfway point, guys got a really good feel for their cars. They know what to expect now. Now it's just a matter of either waiting when that green flag pit stop is going to happen, or if the next caution happens, to really change the complexion of the race, and we'll see what happens from that point.
Little top, close to the top 10 action coming up here. Kyle in the 13th spot, where Adam Roberts just took it over from Scott Simley. Now we see LaFleur, who had trouble earlier on, has managed to at least get that car back in halfway working decent order. He's 15th spot working on the 88 or 68 machine of Scott Simley there, and he's got the 03 car of Nathan Bowers looking deep on the bottom and backstretch.
Yeah, really impressed with CJ LaVere so far. We mentioned earlier he was in that first wreck of the night around lap 4 or 5. But every time we've checked in on him, he's creeped up a little bit more and more in the race standings. I don't know if he has a winning car, but I do think if he could just have a really good green flag pit stop here, if we even have a chance to get a green flag pit stop, we really believe that the 4-car CJ LaVere could back up his win last week with a strong statement and finish top 10 here at Las Vegas. We'll have to wait and see, as we are now halfway through the race, but CJ LaVere, keep an eye on him for a top 10 finish here tonight. have some trouble here coming through the trial, but looks like the 45 of Mike Montesi had some trouble there. Came off of turn 4, car got really tight again, similar to what we saw in that opening lap incident. Cut the grass in a trial a little bit too much, but he's able to keep his car straight. But the battle continues now for the 17th position. Got the 48 of Kevin Linden. Remember, he won the RSR Icebreaker race back at Talladega a couple of months ago. He's trying to make a name for himself in the Full Throttle Cup Series. Big Jimmy Johnson fan, as you can see, tell by his paint scheme. Him and CJ Olvera are going to go back and forth here for position. But in the meantime, Kevin Linden's going to maintain that 15th position to round out the top 15.
Yeah, talk about moving through the field. Kevin Linden starting 39th spot, didn't take a time all the way up here to 15th, as you mentioned. So great run for him tonight, and still maybe plenty of more positions to gain as he starts to hunt down Adam Roberts, who's just ahead of him. And looking up in front here, cracking the top 10, Brian Harvey. Brian Harvey getting ahead of A.J. Brandon earlier in that 30 machine. As the leaders continue to run single file and putting car a lap down as Jason Hester still go down a lap.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed so far, I know you weren't up in the booth with me for the RSR Icebreaker Series race, Keaton, but I was up here with Pasoko beginning of February. Again, it was for their championship event. And a lot of the players that we saw up in the front of that race, they're becoming major factors in this race again, Chad Cole being one of them. Again, the B cars here in iRacing, which simulate the Nationwide Series cars, the Chevrolet Impala and the Ford Mustang. Big difference when it comes to horsepower and aerodynamics between them and the Cup cars, but it's a matter of just having track experience, kind of something like we talked about earlier with R.J. Williams and Joey Jattina, sharing information with that kind of stuff. As you can see, even just between series, that you could really transfer information. The more track time you have, the more it helps, and it's really paying dividends for these guys here this evening.
Yeah, and we just seen an unscheduled pit stop of Eric Arnold, the Navy Nuke, come down, take right sides only. The 62 machine, also John Wilco, down on pit road as well. All these, I believe, to be unscheduled pit stops as these guys run 37th and 35th, more than 5 laps down, Kyle. And go ahead.
They may be unscheduled, but at the same time, maybe these guys are trying to short pit a little bit. I do believe at this point in the race, they can make it on fuel from this point if they stretch it. I believe the fuel window is right around 50 to 55 laps. So it is possible that maybe these guys are expecting this race to go green to the end, trying to short pit here. Looks like we have some big trouble entering turn 3. The 4 car, CJ Levere. Oh man, big trouble between him and the 41 and Nathan Little entering turn 3. I believe the 4 car, CJ Levere, actually blinked out, might have had some electrical connection issues here connecting to the server, and they had big trouble between him and the 41 of Nathan Little. CJ Levere hits the wall head on entering turn 3, and the caution is out on lap 65.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, electrical problems, and I think Nathan Little is actually going to be okay from that. He looks to be okay from my view, the way I'm looking at the monitor right now. The car seems to be fine, so if that's the case, that'll be at least halfway good for him. He'll gain that position.
Yeah, and it's one thing you don't have to worry about incident points here, which is many iRacers know about with incident points and safety rating and stuff like that. Don't have to worry about that with league racing, but not really sure exactly what happened to CJ Levere. I was watching him from my location of above entering turn 1, the exit of pit road on top of the grandstand, and he just flat out disappeared. Just major connection issues. This is simulation online racing, and if you don't have an online connection, you can't connect to the server, and something must have happened to his connection there from about the point of entering turn 1 to almost the entry at turn 3 down Anella straightaway. He was not on anyone's screens except for his own. And when he appeared, him and Nathan Little were actually in the same real estate, and they just came together, and CJ Levere got the short end of that stick. He's going to end his night very early, just past the halfway point. Looks like he's going to finish, I don't know, I'd say about in the 37th position.
So with this late caution coming out here, it's going to make some exciting pit stop here because of the money. This could be known as the money stop, I guess you could say, Kyle, coming down here. What could be the final pit stop if this thing stays green, perhaps?
Absolutely, this could be the money pit stops. Funny we talk about money in Las Vegas, but this is your time when you got to put all the chips in and you got to really show what you have for your pit crew here. This is a crucial pit stop for these guys. Depending on where and when they came off of pit road, it's really going to affect the outcome of this race. We know how important aerodynamics is and the clean air is here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So if you could restart the leader on this late restart, this could be the last restart of the race, and it could lead you to victory here.
And as my old buddy Kenny Rogers would sing, you gotta know when to hold 'em. Know when to fold 'em.
Here in the booth eating those hot dogs and singing along.
The gambler.
Chad Cole, Keaton, did you see that? That Chad Cole actually won the race off of pit road. Now R.J. Williams following him. Not a lot of change up here in the front of the field here with position. Had a couple of guys stay on pit road, fixing up some damage and trying to make some late adjustments here. Maybe with steering ratio or other issues that they could very limited to change with the fixed setups. But at this point in a race, like I mentioned earlier, long green flag runs. By this point, everyone knows what their car has in store and the fuel that they're looking for. So maybe it's time to try something desperate. Maybe, I didn't see any two-tire pit stops, but maybe they're setting themselves up for possibly a two-tire pit stop if we get a caution late in the running here, Keaton.
And I didn't see that, Kyle, but I am hearing something. And if you look at that 8 car, you'll hear it too. The engine's off. So I think they know that it's going to be close, and he's doing everything he can to coast that car while we're under caution to keep as much fuel in it as possible if this thing stays green. So you hear that? No engine.
Yeah, and I heard the same thing from Dale Jr. yesterday watching his in-car during the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race, and we saw how that worked out for him. Not hoping for the same, and I'm sorry for any Junior Nation listening to me, but I hope that the same fortune doesn't happen for Chad Cole here, but it is a gamble. And keep in mind, Chad Cole did win the Daytona race here earlier this year. He's got nothing to lose. As long as he maintains that top 30 position in points, he's a virtual lock for the chase. So Chad Cole, he doesn't have any other option but try to go for the win, try to stretch that fuel mileage just a little bit. I don't know if R.J. Williams and Eric Brundys are in the same boat as he is, but Chad Cole looking really good right now. And even with that engine off, expect him to maybe stretch that fuel and cruise into victory.
Absolutely, and while we're still in our pace lap conditions here, A.J. Browning, going to see if we can get the 30 machine up with us here on Race Communications. A.J., Mike Keaton up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you. What's up?
Hey, man, I tell you what, you're looking mighty pretty there, sitting 11th spot, trying to crack that 30 car into the top 10 here tonight at Vegas. You got anything for these guys if this thing stays green?
I don't know. Setup's kind of tight. I got a little bit of damage earlier. Luckily, it's about 20 or 30 optional to repair it. So I don't know. We'll see. I've moved forward here for a while though, but I know the stronger cars are up front. So we'll just have to see.
I'll tell you what, AJ, keep the throttle mashed to the floor and keep the steering wheel turning left, and I think you'll bring her home at least in the top 10 here tonight.
And thanks, buddy. Y'all have a good time in the booth.
All right, thank you, AJ. And
yeah, and as we listen to A.J. Browning there, driver to number 30, he's going to restart in the 10th position. Give you a quick field rundown here as we get set for this lap 71 restart. Chad Cullen at DeWalt Ford is going to maintain the lead. Remember, keeping an eye very closely on him, trying to stretch the fuel here a little bit. R.J. Williams is going to restart second, Eric Brundys third, Jonathan Cadell in fourth, and Jeff Addison in fifth. Stefan Marinak sixth. Thomas J. George, early top 5 contender, dropped back a little bit, but I think we should be able to expect him to come back up through the field here. Joey Jatina restarting in 8th, Harvey 9th, and we just talked to A.J. Browning, he's in 10th. And just another car I want to keep an eye on, the number 68 is Scott Simley. Remember, he was involved in an incident earlier on in the race. He's back up to the 11th position. Outstanding outing for him. Look for him to maybe finish top 10 here, maybe top 5. And who knows, with this fuel mileage deal, he could even get the win.
you never know, and it's up in the hands of the gambler. As the 8 car, Chad Cole, leads us back to the green in the Jackpot 120 live here on Full Throttle Cup Series, presented by MW Productions. Pace car making the famous left-hand turn down the pit road, and Cole is going to lead us to a slow but steady green here.
Yeah, very slow but very productive start here for Chad Cole. He's going to burst out to a 3-car length lead. The battle's on for second between 94 of Eric Brundy's and the 2 of RJ Williams. We've been seeing the inside lane work very well here on restarts so far, but it's not going to work out this time. The 2 of RJ Williams going to carry the momentum down the Nellis straightaway. He's going to hang on to that second position, but battle's on for about the 6th position. Look at Thomas J. George. I just mentioned him to creep back up to the top 5. He just got around to 14 to Joey Jatina, and he's looking for more here as they come down the front straightaway.
Oh, you couldn't put a thread between them. The 66 machine and the 14 car getting so close. Rubbing doors coming into turn 1 as the 66 Brian Harvey makes the pass, cracking the top 8 position as they're all single file going into 3.
Single file indeed, but that doesn't mean that these guys are laying back at all. They're just trying to get themselves in position to win this race. Look at the 43 there in the 5th position. That's actually Stefan Marinek in those Exalta colors there, representing the Jeff Gordon 24 team. He's going to look to Jeff Addison to try, or actually Jonathan Cadell to try to make some noise here. Not going to be able to do it in 1 and 2, but a very, very close battle on for the 2nd position. Points leader Eric Brundys, he knows that just because he has that points lead now, doesn't mean he's going to have it come chase time. He needs to get a win here. He has a very good chance to get it tonight at Las Vegas, but he has to catch the 2 of RJ Williams, and he really has to catch the 8-car Chad Cole.
Yeah, remember Eric Brundy's 3rd quickest in qualifying, putting down a 29.569, but the man who would outbeat him and outrun him would be Cole, who's running first right now. And who was the fastest in qualifying? Who had the pole? The 11 machine of Jonathan Cadell, and as you mentioned, he's in 4th. He's got a little ways to go to catch him, but he's still hot and heavy, ready to go.
Yeah, Keegan, but you know just as well as I do, hot laps only mean so much when it comes to race time. The track position's nice for the start of the race, but you can be fast for 1 lap, but that does not mean you can be fast for 10, 15, 20, or 30 consecutively. And the way all this race has been going, I do think it's very likely that this race could go green until the end, or we have a green flag run maybe till about 5 or 6 laps to go when the action really picks up, and the race may end under caution. Keep in mind, race fans, the iRacing system does not support green, white, checkered finishes, so if there's 120 laps scheduled for the event, whether it finishes under green or under the yellow flag conditions, it's only going to be a 120 lap event no matter what. So that may play into the hands of Chad Cole. He doesn't have to worry about trying to save fuel for overdrive with those extra laps with the green, white, checkered, but could it help him or could it hurt these other guys knowing that they have to push it now because they may run out of time?
Laps winding down, 77 now complete. Chad Cole puts another one on the board, and he's real close to have led the most laps here so far at Vegas tonight. There's still quite a ways to go, about 40 to 50, 40 laps to go here, I guess you could call it. As the laps, though, wildly continue to run down here. Looking all the way back here, Kyle, in 10th spot. 10th spot where A.J. Browning continues to run. There was a nice little side-by-side action with 68 Scott Simley, as you mentioned earlier, climbing and clawing his way back up to the front. But the 20 of Rhett McBride and the Fanatic Ford underneath him, looking for that 11th spot now.
Yeah, Rhett McBride, very quiet evening today, but he's looking for that 11th position, trying to sneak into the top 10 here. Again, Scott Simley, even though he has a little bit of damage, he's been hanging on pretty good. I mentioned Kevin Linden, but battles on for second right now in the middle of 3 and 4.
RJ Williams coming off a 2, a little bit tight as he tries to squeeze Brundy's. Oh, buddy, squeezing the ketchup bottle, or the mustard bottle, excuse me, the yellow car of Eric Brundy's. Man, I don't think you could squeeze anybody down in the corner as much as RJ Williams just did.
You could fit a paper clip in between those 2 cars. There was contact for sure in the middle of 3 and 4. Shows you how much it means for these guys to race for the win and try to make a chance to, or try to get a chance for the championship. I mentioned how important it is for Eric Brundys to win this race. RJ Williams in the same boat. And then you saw the 11 of Jonathan Cadell. He tried to get into the mix there, but he decided to fall back in line. But while that battle and that little skirmish happened in the middle of 1 and 2, that opened the door. That gave Chad Cole about another half a second there to add on to his lead. So that in the end, that actually hurt both the 2 and the 94 because it just gave Chad Cole more track clean air and just gave him a greater opportunity to try to pull away. Chad Cole continues to lead this race here as we complete the 80th lap.
Oh yeah, Chad Cole's in 78412, and R.J. Williams is not in 90120. I mean, two different total zip codes here. Cole is almost pulling off off a C.J. LeVere type escapade as we saw last week at Phoenix, although not leading entirely every lap, but he is dominating right now here at Vegas.
Yeah, and as he dominates, we also have to keep in mind, not trying to make a lot of nothing, but fuel mileage may play a major factor in the ending of this race if it does go green. So Chad Cole, maybe, who knows, maybe he's trying to get a big lead here, and so it gives him an opportunity to save some fuel at the end because he won't have to push it as hard. But the 8 of Chad Cole, a huge, monstrous lead right now of almost a second and a half over the rest of the field, but we got really tight racing here for second, third, fourth, and fifth as they enter turn number 3.
And now the Where's My Driver, the top 5 in points. Where are they on the track? Well, Eric Brundage, who's first in the point standings, currently coming into tonight's event at Vegas. Eric Brundage trying to work underneath R.J. Williams in turn 1 here. He's working that second spot. C.J. LeVere all the way back in 37th position, 15 laps down. Jonathan Cadell runs 4th. Thomas J. George cracking in 6th spot right now. And Matt Lacrosse, who made one heck of a pit stop move earlier, is shown back in 25th. Remember, he was in the top 10 earlier, but man, look at this battle here. Top 5 spot, Eric Brundage going backwards perhaps, Kyle.
Yeah, Eric Brundage had slipped up a little bit there off of turn 4, and we talked about it all night, that outside lane. Maybe it's finally starting to come in with some grip. The 11 of Jonathan Cadell, our pole sitter, is going to carry that momentum, and Stefan Marinek's going to push him down the Nellis straightaway. The 11's going to clear him, but Brundage tries to hang on to the inside of the 43. Almost some contact there. Eric Brundage trying to get a side draft here, just trying to hang on to the position. Big slip there in the middle, 3 and 4. Lost a lot of momentum, and end up losing 2 positions in a matter of about a lap and a half. But, so the 94 of Eric Brundage is going to settle into about the 5th position, but Thomas J. George is really putting the pressure on. And how about the 35 of Chad Schilling, the Carolina kid? He's hanging, or actually Jeff Addison, excuse me. He's hanging in there in the 7th position. Haven't talked too much about him tonight, but he's been a consistent top 10 car. He's trying to make some waves here as well.
Yeah, a couple of subs here tonight. In fact, you mentioned Chad Schilling. You're partially right, Kyle. Jeff Addison subbing for Chad Schilling. Then you got Doug Rolfe subbing for Josh Chaney. Jimmy North, like you mentioned earlier, being subbed for Stefan Marinak, and Jason White being subbed for A.J. Browning. And, you know, this is part of it. And what a great run for Jeff Addison, like you said, and for Chad Schilling both here in the top 7 spot as Eric Brundage losing perhaps another spot, and this one to the 1 machine of Thomas J. George as they rocket down into turn 1 at Vegas.
Yeah, the battle's on there. Thomas J. George, he's going to clear the 94 of Eric Brundage. It's pretty amazing just to think about just a couple laps ago how he was racing side by side with R.J. Williams, and maybe when they had that contact there, how many times have we talked about, Keaton, how aerodynamically dependent these cars are? Even the smallest dent could upset, as Thomas J. George almost gets the wall outside of turn 4. Very polite of Eric Brundage to give him the room that he needed to correct it and not causing a big wreck there. But even the slightest damage could hurt that 94 car, and that may be a product of what happened, but caution is out on the track.
And I believe this one's going to happen on the front stretch here with the 68 car. 68 car of Scott Simley.
Yeah, tough break for Scott Simley. Again, the 3rd incident tonight. Man, you know, Keaton, I gotta tell you, when we did me and Pasoku did the broadcast here for the Icebreaker series back in February, I mentioned that I expected turn 4 to be the tricky corner tonight, but it ended up being turn 2. Tonight, I talked about how I expect turn 2 to be a bad corner for these guys, and it actually ended up being turn 4. The 3rd incident of the night, caution caused by an incident coming off in turn number 4. Again, it has to be a product of the setup, I would imagine. Happened in similar points to the run to 68 of Scott Simley. The car just got really tight there off of the corner. Scott Stenzel did a nice move to go around him on the outside. Almost came up across the track, but good for Simley to keep it down on the apron. Just a solo spin here, a really tough break for him. And we were talking about how impressive it was for Scott Simley to come back from an earlier incident. able to run back up in the top 10 with these guys, but I'd have to imagine his goose will be cooked after this wreck.
The goose will be cooked. And now we're going to find out what crew chief and what tire changer, if you will, what crew is going to go to work? Who's going to be the quickest? Who's going to be the fastest? Because this is the money stop. You know, I mentioned earlier the money stop. This is it right here, Kyle. This is where you put all the money in the basket and put all the eggs in there and see which one cracks and which one doesn't.
Yeah, and we're gonna be within 30 laps to the finish, maybe around 28 or 27 laps to go by the time they restart. You're not going to beat Chad Cole on 4 tires if he restarts the leader. I gotta imagine maybe some guys outside the top 10 haven't had that many laps here. Maybe they'll take 2 tires, but it's kind of looking like a 4-tire pit stop so far. But here comes a 20 car. Rhett McBride, he's going to try to win the race off of pit road. I think he will.
Yeah, Cole going to roll off third in that second spot, taking right sides only, Joey Gattina.
Yeah, and like I said, like you said, this is crunch time, and these guys knew you can't restarting in a 10th position, 12th position, or even in the 8th position with the aerodynamic and the dirty air and all that stuff. It's going to be very difficult for him to make up all that time and try to catch these guys. Got to try to beat Chad Cole in his own game. He's been very dominant ever since he's been getting that lead position, and he's been getting excellent restarts. He's not going to control the field this time when the pace car makes a hard left turn on the pit road. That's going to be Rhett McBride. We talked about the complexion of the race changing. This is a major complexion change right now with this pit stop.
And we're going to find out where everyone cycles back out after the commercial break, and hopefully we'll run this one to the green with closing laps ahead. In a few moments, you're watching Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series, sponsored by Gary Mercer Trucking, presented by MW Productions. We'll be back.
Hi, I'm Todd Malmstrom, driver of the 75M Ford Mustang GT. This is what I do by night. And this is what I do by day. I sell new Fords, and I've got the best selections of used inventory that you could ask for. Come see me down here at Central Ford.
Are you tired of getting hassled at the dealerships? Looking for a salesman that knows what he's talking about? Are you looking to buy a new or used car? Then look no further! Sexton Ford Moline, Illinois has the biggest selection of new or pre-owned vehicles, and Todd Malmstrom is the salesman you want. Todd is an expert when it comes to cars, and if you don't believe me, then you should see him race on a Sunday night. With his top-notch professional customer service and expertise, he will make sure you go home in the right car for the right price. No hassle, no haggling. Todd will make sure that you're happy when you leave the lot with your new or pre-owned vehicle. Remember, Sexton Ford may be the talk of the town, but so is Todd Malmstrom. If you're in the market for a new ride, then buy one from a winner. Todd Malmstrom at Sexton Ford Moline.
And we're back. Stacking them up here one more time. Kyle coming into turn 3. Pace car lights off. Rhett McBride, Joey Gattina on the first row, going to lead us to the green.
Yep, and those 2 cars are on 2 tires. So is Steve Gottschalk. he's going to restart in the 4th position on right side tires as well. And we were talking over the break, we were surprised that not as many cars just took 2 tires because Chad Cole just seems to be putting on a clinic right now. Very hard to pass him unless you pass him on pit road.
Will the Vegas Gamblers win? The 20 car, Rhett McBride in the 14, take us to the green, and the 20, great restart. Here's Cole to the inside of the Katina down the front stretch.
Yeah, it's not going to be a matter of if, it's going to be a matter of when. Chad Cole is going to clear Joey Gentina going into turn 1, full control to 2nd position. Top 5 is really spread out here. He's really closing in the gap, down to 3, down to 2, and it's going to be almost down. It's going to be down to 1 car length entering turn 3. Big trouble in the backstretch though. Looked like the 94 Rhett McBride and a couple other cars came together. Thomas J. George was one of them. Big wreck on the entry of turn 3, but the caution isn't out yet.
Oh, buddy. 94 Air Bundy's the one of Thomas J. George. And like you said, the caution's not out, but the field is half but separated.
And I'm not sure exactly what the officials were seeing there, but I saw the 94 go down to the apron, and then I saw the 1 hit the wall head on, similar to an incident we had earlier in the race with CJ LeVere. But the cars were able to move. I guess for some reason there's no debris on the track. Really never got a full replay look at the wreck from my vantage point because I've been looking at this lead. Rhett McBride and Chad Cole entering turn 1 here. A 10-car length lead on the rest of the field, but those guys are within a bumper width of each other. Chad Cole's going to look for the lead here with the momentum off of turn 2. He's going to get to the inside of McBride entering 3.
Yeah, well, maybe. 20-car power housing on the outside. But Cole looks like he's got a... Nope, the run has been cut short, the 20-car.
McBride was able to utilize that outside lane there in 3 and 4 and pinch Chad Cole down a little bit, but Chad Cole just seems to be so much faster than the 20 Rhett McBride. Unless he burns up his tires, a saying formerly found in iRacing, meaning that his tires get too hot too quick, and he's not able to past the 20 car Rhett McBride, kind of where the tire would even out the 2 cars, but I can't imagine that happening. Chad Cole much faster right now than the 20 Rhett McBride. And if I'm hearing correctly, is there a car sitting on the inside apron in turn 3, Keaton?
I think that there was, and I think race officials said move it or lose it. And that's Rob Bowling, I believe, trying to make his way down into the pit area here. But, man, I'm really fascinated with the way that this 20 car is holding off Chad Cole for the moment. And really, you would think if RJ, Marinac, and Cadell would be able to close in the gap, but they're not. They're actually losing ground. So this Rhett McBride machine is actually out here running pretty solid.
And you know, not only the drivers, but the crew chiefs and spotters are really looking at the 20 car Rhett McBride and how he's able to hang on to the lead, but maybe not so quite. Here comes Chad Cole looking to the inside again, but McBride's going to try to carry the momentum, but he's going to push up the racetrack this time. He can't hold on to that speed, or can he? Almost contact with the wall there. They're door to door to the start-finish line. McBride's going to lead that lap, but will it be the same next time around? What a move by McBride. That is pure talent right there, able to hang on to the lead there on older tires. But what I was saying was, Keaton, these crew chiefs got to be looking. Maybe we get a late caution here again. You might see a lot of guys pit and take 2 tires if everyone else comes down pit road.
Rhett's got to pinch him. He's pinching him there just a little bit. I think 31's going to get in the way of the run. Coming off the corner, perhaps no. But Cole powerhousing the Ford against another Ford to the inside at Vegas, and he'll take over. And folks, as the pig would say in Looney Tunes, I think that's all, folks.
That might just be it, Keaton, as you have another moment up here reminiscing your childhood. I think the 31 had something to do with that. Might have took away the air and it took away the run there for the 20 Rhett McBride, but I think we all know with Chad Cole being as dominant as he was, and especially having 2 fresher tires than the 20 car McBride, it was just a matter of time before the 8 of Chad Cole. Now, Chad Cole, he has the fastest car on the track right now, just looking at the lap times, but RJ Williams is starting to close in the gap on the 20 car McBride. But if we get a caution here, it's going to be a matter of guys decide to stay out, if guys decide to pit. And if they do stay out, it's going to be who's going to be able to cool their tires and their engines off enough underneath the caution flag to give them maximum power and maximum grip on that restart. or the caution could just never come out. This could go green till the end, and we don't even have to worry about that.
So now we can really virtually say it's a race for second. Second's the new first.
Well, it could be, but it can't be, as we see the 25 of Aaron Groskopf getting into the mix here. The field trying to go around him. And just want to mention Aaron Groskopf, new sponsor for him this week, DirtVision.com. He announced that earlier this past week, or earlier last week, I guess it is Monday. But good for him. A tough showing for him tonight. As you can see, the whole front end of that car is off. He was involved in that first incident between Guy Snyder and Mike Matesi and those other guys coming off of turn 4. Tough break for him, but good for that team to get the new sponsor signed on this week. Hope for better things ahead as we head into Bristol next week. But it may be the race for second, but I don't know about that, Keaton. Like we said, that caution can come out anytime. Cautions do breed cautions. We're within about 18 laps to go here. This is crunch time. Guys are going to push it to the max, trying to get any position they can get. This is when wrecks happen.
Hearing word from the MW man, Michael Woolley, 8 lead changes so far at Vegas. Kyle, really not a whole lot of lead changes here tonight. Earlier on, we saw a couple, but really Chad Cole, when he took front office, he never really looked back.
Yeah, very similar to what we saw last week with CJ Oliveira just not leading every single lap. But once Chad Cole, doesn't seem to be a great qualifier here, but when it's time to go racing, he is the car to beat. It seems almost every single week. I would have liked to see what he would have been able to do last week in Phoenix if he were not caught up at that earlier wreck. But as soon as Chad Cole got the lead, really hasn't given it up since, unless it was under pit stop sequences. So as we focus now on the battle for second, Chad Cole has about I would say second and a quarter lead on the rest of the field. But R.J. Williams continues to creep in on that 20 car, Rhett McBride. And you got to feel for R.J. Williams. He said the right front car damaged not too much, but again, even the smallest dent could affect the way how the car drives. And you got to imagine, what if he didn't get that damage on the right front fender under those pace laps early on in the race? Maybe he would be just as dominant, Chad Cole. And this race, we could be talking about the 2 car dominating and not the 8.
Absolutely, and a lot of what ifs here. I mean, still a lot could happen here. As we get to line the laps down here, someone may get a little antsy to try to get that top 10 spot and maybe bring us a late caution out, and it may be a really tough decision whether or not these guys want to come down and pit or not. So it could be spun either way. Now, I'd like to take a moment and thank some of the fans who's been watching and with us tonight. Scott Power, Colin Fern, Spawn Raft, Ben Burnett came into the house tonight. I'm a Star 06. A lot of different folks join us tonight, talking about who's going to win, talking about different strategies playing out throughout the race here, and it's always good to have some sort of social media going on as we race and broadcast here tonight in Vegas.
Absolutely. We thank all you guys watching for your support, and also keep in mind, if you can't catch every single broadcast, not trying to give myself any kind of personal plug here or anything, but I do live tweet every single week that I'm broadcasting here during the races at K_Tarasca. So even if you can't check in on the old computer, our great broadcast here with MW Productions, always keep an eye on the Twitter page, either my page or Real Sim Racing. But looks like we have a spin off of turn 4. And the caution is out on the track. The complexion of the race has just changed.
Yeah, and that's going to be John Langley in the 87 car getting it down to the bottom of the apron there, and it looked like the 42 of Scott Stencil just come out of nowhere. Kyle, he may have been trying to avoid, or not really sure where he was going. God, he hit him a ton.
Yeah, and they're exchanging some words over the scanner right now. I'm going to try to, as we bring up the replay here for you guys, really tough break for the 87 of Langley. And the 42 is Scott Stenzel. We mentioned Langley earlier in the race, and that Irwin Ford looked like he got down in the middle of turn 3, and he just came right up the racetrack for whatever reason. Stenzel had nowhere to go. He was just running this line, and the big wreck happened. Not really sure what happened with Langley. Maybe something broke on the 87 car, but I don't think Stenzel really had anything to go. He did not anticipate the 87 car to come back up onto the racing surface. Tough break for both of those guys. But we're going to focus on the leaders here. Pit road's going to be open this time by Keaton.
And Douglas White wanted to mention come piling through there as well to get him a nice little front end damage there as he wheels it behind the garage. And let's see. They're going to come down pit road?
Get low, Chad Cole's gonna come in, but no! Bunch of fake pitting there. Wow, Chad.
Oh, I can't believe it.
Last possible second. I cannot believe that many guys stayed out onto the track. Gotta wonder, maybe if the one to Thomas J. George and the Jewel Williams, if they would have tried to fake pit and not make it so obvious they were gonna stay out, maybe they could have got the 8 car to stay out there. Not really sure what happened there, but Chad Cole with a very good fake pit. He had me faked out for sure. And the leaders are going to stay out here. We're going to have a restart with about 6 laps to go.
Oh, buddy. 9th position and on back. I believe a couple of the guys on back from 9th came in. So any virtual... now, Thomas J. George is being shown in the 25th spot. 1 lap down, Kyle. I don't know if you caught that. Now, he was 2nd.
Yeah, not really sure what's going on there. I'm actually trying to figure out what exactly happened here between the 87 and the 42. Big exchange of words. I really don't think anything got settled right now, but from what I'm hearing in the garage area and from what I saw for the replay, I really don't know what Scott Stenzel could have done differently. The 87 was down on the apron there, and then when the 87 came back up onto the track at the last minute, Stenzel was already committed to that line, and as we saw, a couple other cars got involved afterwards. I want to say it was a racing deal, but I think the 87 is just as fault as the 42 for hitting him. Not really sure what happened there, but we're going to try to get a further report on that maybe during the week here to get an article out for you guys and talk about it during the pre-race next week at Bristol. But a lot of exchange of words here down in the garage area, and tempers are flying.
And speaking of tempers flying, Jonathan Cadell. Jonathan, man, I tell you what, quickest on the board in qualifying. Right now, you stand in the number 5th spot. What do you think?
I think I'm going to need a wreck here.
A miracle?
Yeah, I can't keep up with Chad. I might be able to scoot by these other guys if I can get a good run, but Chad's gone with it, man.
Now, Jonathan, you're in the Navy, right?
Yes, sir. Not the Air Force.
Well, don't you guys have some sort of can't you use some sort of torpedo or something that you could get out?
I'll need the paintballs from NASCAR '98, that old EA Sports.
Yeah. I hear you, man. I hear you. Jonathan Cadell taking us back into the '98 days. Some of these guys on here racing tonight, Jonathan probably wasn't even born in '98. Man, that's going back in the time machine right there.
Don't make me feel that old.
Oh man, Kyle, you remember the paintballs in 1998?
Yeah, I remember them, but I didn't find... funny story, I didn't find out about until about 10 years later until I found out what the internet was, because I found old YouTube videos, and I'm just like, man, I could have did that the whole time. Man, NASCAR 98, I had that on the PlayStation 1. You're bringing back memories, but Keaton, we got to focus on this race here. We only got a handful of laps to go.
I know it, and with that said, Cadell, the Navy cadet, Cadell, good luck, man.
Thank you, sir.
Man, Michael Keaton, you're bringing up these paintballs here, but, oh man, thankfully we don't have any kind of paintball guns here in the iRacing simulations. This is a full-blown racing simulation that drivers used to train with, similar to other simulations that we've seen across the internet. Arca Sim Racing with the Sim Factory specifically, another stock car sim, thinking about Sim Raceway, a couple other sims that are out there, R Factor, but lot to choose from. And if you're listening to the broadcast for the first time, iRacing, a great format to start, very competitive, to kind of give you an idea what your heroes and your favorite drivers do every given Sunday, as the old saying goes. Kind of gives you a taste of what they go through every week. So try out a subscription with iRacing, or try out any of those sims. They're all great platforms. Give you a great idea of what it's like to actually drive a 3,400 pound stock car around Las Vegas Motor Speedway at a fraction of the cost of what these guys pay over a race weekend. But enough of the plugs. Chad Cole, he's going to restart the leader. Rhett McBride's going to be on his outside. He's only on right side tires. RJ Williams will be third. Stefan Marinek with a strong showing here in fourth. And Jonathan Cadell, the Navy cadet, we just talked to him with the NASCAR 98 paintballs. Don't know he's going to have that as, hiding in the fenders here, the headlights, but he's going to restart in fifth. Keaton, pace car's about to pull off pit road. We're going to have 7 laps to settle the finish here.
Yeah, and if you're going to have anything for Cole, you got to take off with him. In last couple of restarts, he's been taking off, and nobody can stay with him. Let's see what he does here and how RJ does with him. And here it's slow restart. There it is. 20 going to get a horrible, miserable restart there.
Oh, but a wreck in the back. The 94 of Eric Grundy spun the tires hard. Caution is not out, though. The 8 car continues to lead. And now the caution is out. Big trouble in the middle of the pack there for the restart. The Pennzoil car of Eric Grundy's. A lot of guys spun their tires there, but it was especially the 94. Big trouble for him. He restarted on that inside lane, moved up into the outside line, and everyone scrambled behind him. Caution is out. I think, Keaton, we're going to have about maybe a 1 or 2 lap shootout here when it's all said and done.
Yeah, now RJ Williams is going to get the start on the outside there, as he did make and complete the pass right before the yellow came out on Brett McBride. So that's interesting. RJ Williams on that restart, this past restart here, Kyle, if you noticed, kept up with Cole just a little bit. Not entirely, but just a little bit. So if there's any shot of winning this race, RJ Williams is going to have to keep up with him on this restart. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but RJ Williams at a disadvantage, starting second in that outside position. If I were him, I'd rather have it back to be in the 3rd position, starting right behind Chad Cole, and just follow him up through the field. It's going to be really hard. It's really difficult to see out of these cars, and the spotter can only do so much. It's not like the spotter can read the mind of the opposing car or his competitor, with the 8 being Chad Cole in this case. We don't know exactly when Chad Cole's going to take off, and it's much easier to judge that when you're behind the car rather than alongside of him, and you have your A-post there, one of the posts blocking your view, especially with your mirror there. RJ Williams is going to be at a big disadvantage here. He's got to time it almost perfectly, and as we saw in the last restart, he really has to keep an eye on that tire spin, because with that outside lane not being as much grip up there as the inside, since it's not in a racing groove, I don't know, Keaton. I think Chad Cole may have this one wrapped up. I'm not taking anything away from the 2 of RJ Williams. He's a great driver, very competitive all night, but there's just a huge disadvantage restart on that outside lane.
All right, maybe a huge disadvantage to start on the outside, but let's talk about chasing him down in perhaps turn 3. After we get the restart, go through 1 and 2, chase him into 3. Going to have 1 shot. And what I mean by that 1 shot is a shot to the back of that 8 car to knock him up the track. And that's really the only way I think RJ can get around him. And there's nothing wrong with that, baby. Rubbing, bumping's racing.
Yeah, nothing at all. The fans, they love the good competitive racing. And keep in mind, Chad Cole has that win already. RJ Williams does not. Even though we're already in the 3rd race of the season, we have to talk championship, even though we're not going to decide one until November. But like you said, turn 3 could be a totally different story. That's going to depend on how quickly RJ Williams could clear the 20 car of Rhett McBride. And maybe even if the 43 is Stefan Marinek, he's going to have to pull him. He's been showing some muscle here in the closing laps. He's going to have to really pull away from those guys, where it's just going to be him and the air and Chad Cole on his windshield. And he could just solely focus on Chad Cole and chasing him down. Might only have a lap or 2 to do it, but if he, again, anything could happen. Chad Cole could even spin his tires here. We don't know that. We saw the 94 of Eric Grundy's. He spun his tires from the inside lane. So, like you said, Keaton, anything could happen. There is a disadvantage on the initial restart to restart in the 2nd position on that outside lane. But when you go into turn 3, it could be a totally different ballgame.
Yeah, and imagine what's running through the Deuce's head right now. You know, I mean, starting on that outside, and imagine what's going through Rhett McBride's head starting in 3rd. You know, if he can somehow manage to stay up under Chad on the restart here, it's easier said than done, I know, but I just think this race is going to be won on either the restart or perhaps entering turn 3. This is probably going to be your only opportunity to get as close as you can to Cole and try to do something with it. They're going to have to push hard.
Absolutely. And for our fans thinking at home, well, Chad Cole has that win. He doesn't need this one. Why doesn't he just pull over for RJ Williams? Well, RJ Williams is, as you can see, one of the most competitive drivers in this series. If he makes the chase, he will be a threat, or a force to be reckoned with in the last 10 races of the season. If Chad Cole could win this race, that takes away another opportunity that RJ Williams might have had to win a race. We don't know what's going to happen next week at Bristol or the week after at Fontana or Darlington or Dover or even Daytona or anywhere where we go the rest of the season, this may be R.J. Williams' best chance to win a race here. And if he can't win tonight, he may not have another chance this season. So you don't know. So that's the mindset that Chad Cole has to have. He has to keep in mind every race that he wins, that's another race that another driver could not win, you know, really helping his chances with the championship later on in the year. But we're going to get one to go this time by. Chad Cole's going to restart on the inside, and the two of R.J. Williams is going to be on his outside. This is going to be a really exciting restart.
This is where the money will be made. This is definitely where it's going to be made here, Kyle. This is it, too, by the way. They go green here, caution come out, this race will be done. So
Absolutely. Either it's going to be the caution flag or it's going to be the checkered flag. And it's going to be the next flag to end it. They will get the white flag. It's going to be a 2-lap green-white checkered shootout here. I'm kind of excited. I'm actually standing up in front of my monitor right now.
Well, you know, as they say, you know, reach behind you and make sure you got the seatbelt strapped tight. I guarantee you it's going through the minds of Cole, the 2 car, the 43 car, and the 20 car. I mean, it's really anybody's ballgame. Like you said, Cole could miss the gear here. He could get into one wrong, wash up the track. The 2 could come underneath him, spin him out. The 20 car take the lead. The 43 car wreck him, and 35 there. Before you know it, 35's Jeff Assen's walking away with a win with Chad Schilling. Now, I know that a lot has to happen in order for that to work out, but hey, it's Vegas.
It's Vegas indeed, and here comes the Ford First Racing pace car, going to make that hard left turn on the pit road. All the chips are in here at Las Vegas. Chad Cole, really big jump on the restart. He's going to pull away. The 2 of R.J. Williams spins his tires, has some more trouble in the back. Matt Lacrosse into the wall in 21, but they keep it straight. The race stays green. The battle is on for second as Chad Cole's in his own zip code.
So, in other words, not the restart that R.J. Williams was hoping for.
Absolutely not. R.J. Williams, he could not stay with the 8 car of Chad Cole, and he couldn't even clear it out to the outside, the 20 car Rhett McBride. McBride on those 2 tires, he closes the gap a little bit off of turn 4. It's the bell lap. White flag is out here as Las Vegas. Chad Cole leads into turn 1.
And here comes Stefan Marinac underneath the 2 machine of R.J. Williams, looking for that top 3 podium position. 43 car, the old numbers of Richard Petty, can't quite do it, coming off 2, half a car length down the backstretch.
Yeah, but Marinac, he's going to try again entering turn 3, but he ain't going to do it. But we're focusing on the leader. 5 car lengths separate the 8 of Chad Cole, the 20 of Rhett McBride. Here they come off of turn 4, checkered flag in the air for the second time this year. Chad Cole is going to win at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
And rounding out second spot, Rhett McBride in the number 3 position. Will go to that deuce of R.J. Williams in the 2 machine. Stefan Marinac rounding 4th. And Jeff Addison with a solid top 5 finish in that 35 car for Chad Schilling. I know he's happy here tonight as Rhett McBride rubs double doors with the 8 machine, and to congratulate him for winning his 2nd win of the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series in just 3 events. With that said, we're going to step away, take a quick commercial break, and have the post-race interviews here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and we're going to go hit the slots.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
And we're back live here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, where we just had a dominating performance by Chad Cole in the 8-car machine. But I tell you what, the number 2 car, R.J. Williams, put on a show a little bit earlier on in the race. And even at the last part of it, R.J., talked to us about the restart there. We thought that maybe you was going to have at least a shot on the outside there and maybe catch him in turn 3, but I don't guess the restart went your way.
Yeah, it's almost like I got damaged there earlier when I made that little mess up there on the pace laps. And I think that kind of hurt me down the straightaway. I think that killed my straightaway speed there. I got on the wall a couple more times, and it was just pushing like a dump truck after that. Rhett got a good restart there, and I don't know what the problem was, but I just didn't go. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to give him a run, so I'm happy with third. Setup sucked. I'm sweating like a whore in church right here, but other than that, it was a good run. Better than the other 2 races by far.
RJ, talk to us about coming in, to Vegas and the new point system here with the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series. With if you win it, you're in it. And I tell you, Chad Cole not letting that phase him at all here, claiming 2 wins out of the 3 races so far. But, you had a shot to win it, couldn't quite get it done. That would have pretty much put you in the catbird seat for the championship run here. But, next week we go to Fontana, as some call it. I still call it California. Let's go soak up the sun in Cali. Talk to us about California and talk to us about the points rule change.
Well, I don't know what to expect with the chase. I know there will be a couple tracks coming up here where I feel like as though I'll do decently like I need to do. So I'm in no rush to get that win, but it'd be nice to go ahead and get one in the pocket. But I'm sure I'll hopefully make it through those elimination rounds there towards the end and be one of the 4 drivers going for the championship there in that last race.
Absolutely. And RJ, last but not least, anybody you'd like to thank for tonight?
I want to thank Joey Katina for asking me to join this season. He's taking care of me this season and allowing me to race, and I enjoy running this league. I was really impressed by the run that the league made last week at Phoenix, of all places, much like the other year when we went caution-free at Dover, where I won the race when I passed Landon with 3-4 laps to go. So hopefully we can get a couple more of those in there. Got to thank the guys at Last Row for all their help with the A car, and all the guys at Real Sim.
Absolutely, and there you have it, folks. R.J. Williams and that Deuce machine finishing 3rd tonight, and looking over here to my left with a nice little grin on his face. Rhett McBride, little quick in practice, fourth fastest in practice, a little bit slower in practice, but finished a little bit better in the race. You finished 2nd.
Yeah, I mean, had a pretty good run. It was kind of crazy out there tonight. Obviously, as you probably could tell. The setup was real tight, so at the beginning of the race, we were just kind of riding around. So I had to drop to the back and made my way back up there, and I forget which pit stop it was, right there at the end, second to the last, third to the last, I can't remember. Took 2 tires and got some track position, got out front, and just wasn't strong enough to hold Chad off. I tried, tired of him winning everything, but I gave it all I could, with those 2 tires. I think he was just a little too strong for us.
Yeah, we talked about that in the broadcast and saw that coming out with the right sides only, and man, you really held up. And we were talking about how impressed we were with you actually able to stay out front for not just 1 lap or half a lap. I mean, you were up there for about 3 to 4 laps, and then finally Cole getting around you, but you staying up there, and I think that's one of the bigger things. You just didn't fall off completely. So kudos to the crew chief there for making that call. Or, as a driver, you may have made that call. A lot of drivers don't like to take 4 tires, and get that track position. But talk to us about the sun in California real quick, and then throw out your sponsors for us tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to California. I like that track. I ran it in another race early before the season started, and some good cars in that race, and had a pretty good run there. It's just it's a lot like all these mile and a halfers. It's a momentum track. You just have to be smooth. So first time going there, as it's a new track to the servers. So I'm really looking forward to it. Think we should do pretty well out there. I hope the whole team, the guys at RDSR, do well there.
And there you have it, folks. The man who finishes second here tonight at the Gambler Las Vegas Motor Speedway Jackpot 120, Rhett McBride in the Fanatic Ford machine here tonight. And I'm going to toss it down. Who's standing beside one happy winner here tonight, Kyle Tarasca on Gatorade Victory Lane.
Yeah, and the Gatorade has flown everywhere, all over my uniform. But Chad Cole, it was just about a month ago we were standing in the same spot talking about your championship run in the RSR Icebreaker Series. Come back to Gambling Town, Las Vegas, and the same magic, it still hits you. Congrats on your second win of the year in dominating fashion here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that I did that. I didn't get any laps this week, and I really think the setup change helped us. We had to go with the Hall of Fame set. We thought it'd benefit the league, and neither one of the setups that iRacing provided, well, there's 3 of them, and none of them are really that great. They're all kind of really loose or too tight with this one tonight. But yeah, I'm just really shocked that I could pull that off.
Now, you mentioned the setups. One thing I was talking about during the broadcast, I want your take on it since you actually ran the setup. It looked like with the tighter setup, it made it a lot easier to run over the bumps in turns 1 and 2. As you know, racing here at Las Vegas, it's almost impossible to hug the white line. The outside line is the preferred line in 1 and 2. Talk about how the setup changed the dynamic from that aspect and just the dynamic of the whole race in general.
Yeah, I kind of thought that coming in. I got laps in with the fixed set that was looser, but with the tighter set, it kind of figured to be running a little bit slower through 1 and 2, and kind of thought you'd drop it down maybe a half car width farther, and I was able to do that. I noticed some guys really didn't try it, but I felt that that's where I was a lot faster than RJ and some other guys as well, and I think just practicing that in the practice session before the race really paid off.
It paid off indeed. Chad Cole, driver to number 8, the Walt Ford Fusion. Great job tonight. Well, obviously your sponsors, but anyone else you'd like to thank as well.
Yeah, I got to get a shout out to Hippie's Paint Shop. You can find him at facebook.com/Hippie's Paint Shop. He does a lot of great work for me. This is one of the older ones I'd dig out of the archives, and I got to thank you guys, MW Productions, for doing the broadcast. You guys do awesome jobs, and I guess that's Gary Mercer Trucking as well for sponsoring the Full Throttle Cup Series this year.
Absolutely, and once again, Chad Cole, congratulations on your what's turning into a championship run this early in the season, winning 2 of the first 3 races and dominating here in Las Vegas. Keaton, back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if Red or RJ would have slipped a 20, I'm sure Chad would have let out of the throttle a little bit. No, Chad's a big competitor. I know he'll win, and he'll keep winning. It's just the competitive attitude that he's got. I nickname him Jimmy Johnson because he wins all the time. But anyway, for me, Michael Keaton, Kyle Tarasca, and Michael Woolley at MW Productions and Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series going to be full in gear next Monday night in California. And how does Sheryl Crow say it? I'm gonna soak up the sun. Is that what she says, Kyle?
I don't know, but I hope you never say that again. Thank you all again for listening tonight. It was a great race here in Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and we'll catch you next week, same time, same place, here at NW Productions.
DGVertec.net's primary goal is to provide you with a successful website presence. They have purpose-built their web servers successfully throughout the years. The stress testing has been done so that they can provide you with an enhanced web hosting technology that they design for using future standards today for tomorrow. They offer 24/7 support for all web hosting plans. Their team answers support tickets 24/7, so if you have a problem at any time, an agent will be more than happy to help you. If you're not satisfied with your service within 7 days, then you can get a full money-back guarantee, with a 99 uptime guaranteed as well, with plans for shared hosting starting at just $2.95. It's clear to see why DGVertec should be your choice for web hosting. Just go to www.dgvertec.net today, your web hosting solution.